gloves on. When you're working and you're removing platforms, you're doing whatever it is you're doing, and you've got your gloves on, I don't want to see anyone doing this. All right? Because all you're doing is taking what was on the inside and now you're putting it on the outside. So when you're working on the inside, okay, a lot of times I would just use one glove. Depending on, most of these, the 3500, which used to be here, was a big platform. You couldn't really do that. This machine, depending on the size of your part, you can almost handle these platforms with one hand. I can work the little latches with one hand, and I can also remove this with one hand. So a lot of times I'd leave one hand open just to deal with the outside of the machine. I noticed there was resin all over this, all over the mouse, all over the keyboard. I mean, it's really unacceptable. And I'm not blaming anyone because I'm not sure what kind of training you had. I know Pete's been kind of trying to take up the slack lately, but the lab kind of, was anyone you trained by Andrew Layton? Yeah, so some of you came in that time here, and I'm not sure what kind of training he did. But the bottom line is, if we have a rule of no gloves on the outside, then you're not going to have resin on the outside of the machine. That's the starting place. A couple things. When I kind of got the picture that everyone was taking their platforms out and they were walking like this to the sink. Is that what most people were doing? Some people were doing? Well, there was resin. There was resin all over the floor. The floor was sticky because there was resin on it. I don't know how it happened, but it was sticky because there was resin on the floor. So what everyone should be doing, and again, this may be all repeat for you. You may already know all this. What you should be doing, in this cart, it probably wouldn't hurt to get a new cart. This cart is pretty foul shape. You should be, when you have a platform in the machine, you should roll this cart all the way up. I typically would roll it all the way up. Take your platform out and come here. Alright? If you're doing that, then the resin is not going to get on the floor. Now, occasionally, there is that little gap. Occasionally there is the outside chance that it does drop on the floor. Well, if you look and you see resin on the floor, you simply get this paper towel and some isopropanol and you wipe it up. The outside of the machine, there was resin. It had been dripping and running all down the side of the machine. That's unacceptable. There was resin, and there still are all over the frame of the machine. I'm really surprised that we haven't gotten resin on the lenses, on these mirrors, where the laser comes and it finds its home position. Because if you get resin on that, you're done. And really, you can't wipe these things off with a standard paper towel because it's probably going to scratch, and you got problems there also. So we should have. And see, now we have these, but these were made to protect those lenses. It's covered with resin because resin's been spilled in the bottom. So you can't really use this. So we really need to clean these. And you should be putting these on before you remove anything. You should be covering those two mirrors where the laser actually focuses to each time. You should be covering those up because if you get resin on top of that, then we're going to have to get someone from service to come in and clean it. And I'm not sure what person's advisor would want to pay probably a couple $1,000 to have that done. I mean, service is real expensive, so we probably want to keep that from happening. But there's resin. I mean, this is covered with resin, so this really needs to be cleaned. So when you're using the machine, after the platform, after your build is done, usually it comes up, and my memory's a little slack, but I think there's an auto drain or an auto drain. You should let the part come up and let it drain for at least about 10 or 15 minutes. Okay? And I know everyone's busy, and sometimes we just want to bring it up and take it right out. Well, when we do that, these platforms are saturated. So typically what I did, there's a couple little notches in the rack. I just raise the platform up like that and let it drain. About 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes, you're going to find most of the resin will drain out. It's going to facilitate the cleaning, okay? The cleaning, that was the part I hated about stereolithography, the cleaning. I hate it. sure that's not any of y'all's favorite part, just cleaning up these parts when you're done. Support structures, just the resin, it's messy. It's a messy process. So if you let this drain, and you bring the platform, the cart in, you should be able to transfer it over to here without spilling it on the floor. If you do spill a drop, then obviously it's pretty easy just to take a paper towel and clean it up. Dealing with resin, I'd usually, you gotta have to, typically, I don't know how you guys have been doing it in the past, get a paper towel, grab your glove, and once you get one hand free, you can grab the other glove and take it off. And of course, this card is so nasty, you probably don't really want to touch it without gloves or without some kind of protection. And again, no gloves on the outside of the machine. This machine should be kept clean on the outside. The framework and the parts that's exposed also should be kept clean. If you spill stuff, wipe it off. Now, if you notice this machine over here, it didn't get near the use, but it's been here for 15 years. And it's actually in better condition than this machine in terms of cleanliness, and there is some resin. Is anyone using the SLA 250? Okay. So you're lucky, you got this is the most robust, in my opinion, the most robust machine we have. It's reliable and it works time after time after time. This machine's also good, but it receives a lot of use. So here's what we've got to do. If you come up with this machine's a disaster, you've got to let someone know. Either myself or P, you've got to let them know. Because if I come in and I've been tasked to do this, I'm going to come in, and if I find a mess and it's your name on the roster that you're using the machine, I'm going to come to you and I'm going to ask you why is it's not cleaned up. And if it happens probably again, I'm going to simply just remove your name from the bus card, and then your advisor can go see the director and ask why you can't use the equipment anymore, and then he'll just simply say because you haven't been following procedures. I don't think it's not going to get to that, so we don't really have to worry about that. But this is kind of the level that I've been asked to take it to, so we keep the place nice and clean. And again, this is really not to keep the place clean, it's really for your safety, okay? We don't want this resin, we don't want you walking away with this on your hands. So now you built your part, you came to the platform, you have it, it's drained,